I really feel almost responsible that I need to appreciate Ethereum for what it's done. You know? The Bitcoin ETF has come and stayed. Now, the Bitcoin ETF is part of the market landscape. It is part of our mental models. It is part of our worldview. It is part of our reality. And we are seeing day by day new countries, new markets, new locations that are opening up to the Bitcoin ETF. As I have been struggling, my friends, as I have been struggling with all of my deep diving research, reintroducing myself to the Ethereum world, obviously participating in staking for a long time, and benefiting greatly from these altcoins and the staking mechanisms that provide us so much yield. Anyway, so as I am relearning about Ethereum and reintroducing myself into Ethereum, I finally have broached this idea of what happens when the Ethereum ETF pops. I wrote a couple ideas down. Let's talk about it. So here are my current thoughts on the potential flows into the Ethereum ETF when it starts trading. But first, let's set the benchmark. Bitcoin, of course. Bitcoin is number one, 3 times the size of Ethereum in terms of market cap. Number 2, the future contracts trade is 10x the volume of Ethereum. Number 3, spot trading has about 2x the volume of Ethereum. Number 4, Bitcoin has seen 13 billion of net flows since the ETF launch, which increased the unit price by about 75%. Not bad. With that said, while it's still a little bit misunderstood, Ethereum is quite differentiated from Bitcoin from my research in regards to the context of ETFing. In terms of this asset itself, as well as the utility of the Ethereum network. Number 1, Ethereum doesn't have anywhere near the same amount of structural selling of Bitcoin, since Ethereum validators do not incur operating costs as Bitcoin miners do, forcing them to sell a percentage of their mined coins. This is something that we need to remember. As a Bitcoin miner for over 10 years, it is the cost of doing business, just like mining gold. There has to be inputs so that you can get outputs. There has to be energy expended, costs expended, so that cost and energy can create value. Ethereum doesn't have that problem because they can just yield stuff out of nodes ad infinitum. Number 2, 38% of Ethereum supply is currently soft locked on chain, earning yield. Come on, guys, that's why we're here. Earning yield while being held within staking contracts, DeFi applications, and acting as collateral, etc. Number 3, Ethereum balances on exchanges is currently at its lowest point since 2016, about 11% of the supply less, much less than Bitcoin. Number 4, Ethereum is more flexible than Bitcoin. This reflexibility could be expressed with price-leading on-chain activity, which leads to more Ethereum burned, which can further drive narratives, more price action, more on-chain activity, and more Ethereum burned. So I kind of think this eventually leads to like a Larry Fink on national TV talking about Ethereum and its potential to become the new rails of finance, right? Like this is when the talking heads jump in and they're like, yes, this is what we should do. Okay, hold on to your butts. Hold your horses. Number 5, Ethereum is a technology play. On top of the growth of Web3, in my previous video, I called it a call option or a high growth index for Web3 adoption. There are a lot of people who believe that because of this, Ethereum ultimately has a larger addressable market than Bitcoin. Now, does it? Well, Bitcoin has one use case. It's a store of value. Does Ethereum have a multiplicity of use cases on the second layer? Yes, they do. Number 6, Ethereum has superior network effects and fundamentals while offering stakers of the asset a yield, which is not currently available in Bitcoin, right? That yield, guys, is so strong. And as I pause and think about that, some of you guys might know, you guys remember my experiments with staking. I haven't quit. I've been doing that for years now. And frankly, it's working. And so I really needed to understand as kind of a forced mechanism, right? Because I've been staking for so long in a multiplicity of different tokens and earning yield. Exceptional. I really feel almost responsible that I need to appreciate Ethereum for what it's done. You know? Here are a couple questions that I wrote down in my journal. And I think these are good questions to ask, given the structural differences of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, number 1, what percentage of Bitcoin ETF holders could rebalance into Ethereum? That's a thought. It makes you wonder. With the rise of a Bitcoin, or with the rise of an Ethereum ETF, how many people will rebalance from Bitcoin ETF into the Ethereum ETF? The inflows could be interesting. Number 2, what percentage of investors could look for a 50-50 allocation to Bitcoin and Ethereum? Which, frankly, based on very simple maths and simple logic, it's not a bad balance. 50% Bitcoin, 50% Ethereum. But for those that know, this is going to change the market caps and the dynamics of the market, right? As they balance. Number 3, what percentage of investors could outright opt for Ethereum over Bitcoin just because it's Ethereum, it's cheaper, and all of the simple reasons? Number 4, if momentum hits Ethereum, will we see the reflexibility flywheel kick into gear? Because we didn't really see that with Bitcoin, right? We didn't see it with Bitcoin, period. And so I'm beginning to get curious about this idea. Could we see a hockey stick moment? Number 5, how many institutions are on the sidelines now, having missed Bitcoin? Will they go all in on Ethereum? Given Ethereum's smaller relative size, what happens if Ethereum gets 40 to 50% of the Bitcoin ETF flows? Another explosion? And finally, number 7, what could the altcoin rotation look like amongst ETF holders in this next cycle? How will we see this Bitcoin? I keep thinking, clearly the Ethereum ETF isn't out right now, so I keep defaulting to Bitcoin ETF. But when the Ethereum ETF launches, I'm really curious, because Bitcoin is just Bitcoin, and then there's Bitcoin ETF, an abstraction of Bitcoin. And we have Ethereum, but we have all this Ethereum ecosystem, apps, and all this stuff, different tokens. What's going to happen when that Ethereum ETF launches? How is that going to affect the entirety? Because the entire Ethereum ecosystem is a complex system. And you guys know that in complex systems, everything affects everything. I am super curious. If I were to summarize up these 7 questions, if I were to summarize up my thoughts about the Ethereum ETF, it seems like something that you probably wouldn't want to bet against. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Am I wrong?